Okay, as well. Let's move into. I guess it was just a Raven saying, "Hey, will you guys do something on Mance?" And so, yeah, actually, I can't remember if we briefly talked about this. I can't remember if it was on the last episode we did, or if it was just you and I talking outside of this. But we'll talk a little bit about one of the most common theories surrounding Mance Rayder, which is the Mance Rayder is possibly Rhaegar Targaryen theory. And there's tons of evidence to support this. We've been over this quite a lot. Mance gets glamored, which would tie into Rhaegar, who dies at the Ruby Ford. He has rubies, right? It's pretty common. We've discussed it before. But one of the things we have not discussed that could sort of really challenge that theory, buck against it a bit, or blow it wide open into like super tinfoil land that we really need to discuss and think about is the fact that for sake of argument, let's assume that Mance Rayder is 100% Rhaegar Targaryen. Hiding, the whole deal is Rhaegar Targaryen. That would make him sort of Jon's trainer, also secretly his dad. You can have other other Kingsguard members up there with Tormund, right? Could be Osmond Went or whatever. However you want to go that way. Well, if you do go down that route, then you sort of have to look at something because Mance Rayder has a wife, Dala, and they have a son, Aemon Steelsong. Right? There's like a baby swap and all this stuff. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about when they talk about that whole Mance is Rhaegar theory. Well, for that theory to sort of work, that means that this could be a head of the dragon. This is another Targaryen bastard son, or is a legitimate Targaryen if Dala is called his wife, whether it's his sort of wildling wife, or whatever. I mean, by the wildling customs, they would be married and all this stuff. So that would make him a legitimate Targaryen in a way, right?
Yeah. So, and like you said, if you take it at, let's say that truly is Rhaegar, and there's no question about it or whatever, then he has a claim to the throne, and he has children, right? And you have this whole, because that's the whole pitch for Young Griff. Young Griff is supposed to be his child, and people call him Fagon, whatever. He's freaking Aegon, man. He's the guy. Mm-hmm. He's coming back, and it's through his father Rhaegar that he's going to be able to claim the throne. So Aemon Steelsong would be able to make a similar claim later on, I guess, in life. He's going to be a little 2-year-old baby right now, but it is kind of a wild thing to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. For that to happen though, think about some of the things, right? We thought with the show as that the baby, Craster's baby, right? Because remember, that was like a big deal, right? It is we saw the Night King in the show, right? And the wildlings turning these babies and stuff like that. Well, he didn't get one. And one of the big theories we had, like a lot of people consistently had going into season 8, was there's something going on with this baby. Right? Like he wanted this baby, he wanted to turn it and all of this stuff. Now in the books, there's a baby swap, and that in itself is something that we don't really talk about a lot. It's not something that gets brought up a lot in the Reddit and stuff like that. But even outside of the Mance's Rhaegar sort of theory, that's kind of an important thing. They did this swap of this baby, and what's going to happen there. And then if you proceed to go down the Mance is Rhaegar thing, Sam could have the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, and could learn that Jon might actually be his brother, this baby's brother. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this.
Yeah,
they name him after a Targaryen, Aemon Steelsong. I mean,
I know,
a lot there.
Yeah, there is. So the crazy thing is, and you're right, the baby swap is a big deal. That's a big indication that there's something, there's a connection to this and everything that happened with Young Griff and Elia's children, and basically Lyanna and Rhaegar, right? It's all kind of a mystery. a lot of people think, and I was just reading someone on Reddit, one of their comments was the idea that you would do something like this, you make parallels between Mance and Rhaegar, and then you show the baby swapping to help us, like to ease the reader into accepting young Griff. So those people who believe in Fagon and believe that he's fake and he's false or whatever, like you start to think maybe it's real, maybe he really is, like Varys did do something, and we start to believe in this secrecy plot because, well, look, Jon Snow did it. I mean, he snuck a baby out, like right underneath Melisandre and Stannis. Like this happens. So you almost do that to lull the reader into thinking and looking for things like that. So it could be kind of it's just it's a false trail, or it's real, or it's legit, and there's actually, Mance is really Rhaegar, and he was able, above all things, Rhaegar was considered to be able, my friend, as in like, yes. Bael, able, the whole situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and it's just interesting to think too, if we do go down that route, and he is, if you don't go down that route, then I think there's still something about these kids, that there's these two boys, these two babies that were swapped, and what's going to be the important. Now, remember, it could be, well, because Rhaegar's child has king's blood because he's the king beyond the wall, or excuse me, Mance's child has king's blood because he's king beyond the wall. Could definitely also be if he's Rhaegar.
Yeah,
if you want to get serious and technical about things. Well, technically, so it's just it's not something people talk about on the Reddit and stuff, and so it's just like, well, I mean, what do we think's ultimately gonna happen with these kids? Are they going to get swapped back at some point? Is Gilly going to get her actual child back? And Mance might be dead. Technically, he could be dead. I mean, the pink letter says he's dead. I don't think so, but yeah, could be. So where do we go from there?
Right. Yeah. No. That's the big. You always say it. I say it. That's why Winds of Winter takes so long, because there's so many different threads and plots and things to kind of unravel and to get to. But where do you get? See, this is the other thing too, is with the babies, it's sort of like, how significant can they be? Because this story is ultimately around like adults and children. I mean, I just don't know that, like, in the end of this, I mean, I could still see in the end of this, like, someone, a child comes out and there's this child to be with another regent where, Tyrion or Bran or someone is, a regent of some kind, or a king, or Jon Snow's watching over an infant baby, his baby brother. Who freaking knows? I mean,
if Rickon dies, maybe the same way we see it, and then Bran also dies, and then it's like, well, we still go down some route in which Jon ends up, like, living beyond the wall, maybe now with his actual brother or something. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so weird because like
it's like, well, I don't know. Yeah,
you'd almost rather not have the show like endpoints in your mind, because they could be, and people believe this. They believe they're very far off, very very different, and they can start to delude things, which is why we need Winds of Winter so bad, to see which direction George is taking this, which way the threads are going, and if they look like they're going way different than the show, well, then now that adds to our speculation and our theorizing, and it's cool. But
this is why it's taking so long, because there's characters like this.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and you have to have a plan, because it's like, well, where are we even going? I mean,
does he have a plan? I think I have read multiple times George just basically says, like, it grows on me, like the reading, the writing, the characters evolve and they grow, which is cool, but like, his story is growing. There are vines upon vines you can't even see. It's just so far.
Especially, and a character like Aemon Steelsong, because in order for Aemon Steelsong to be sort of important, right? Mm-hmm. He, one, needs to be a lot older, or two, needs to like be the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, and if that happens,
why does he matter?
You already have had to have so much other stuff.
Why does he matter? Is he just some tool for negotiating? Is he just and that's what George does.
Unless you go down this route of I mean, as a scenario I could see is Mance is Rhaegar. Young Griff is not. Young Griff, because I still am sort of a believer of what we saw with in the show of Jorah Mormont getting cured by Sam at the Citadel. I think that's going to happen to
John
Connington.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Young Griff does die or something, and then hey, we find out that Mance is Rhaegar, and this is his actual son.
And John Connington
and
takes
then we
over
don't
there,
know, but
yeah.
and then we don't know that Jon is until later, or maybe N+A equals J, and then you go down, then you have that double whammy, and then it's none of it makes sense, and I don't know, but and Daenerys wins.
We've wove ourselves into our own web, and we don't even know how we got here.
Right.
This is crazy. That's wild.